How are we all? We're back. We're live. So hi everybody. You know the score. Please leave any comments you like. So this is it. This is our live stream, and what we're actually here for is to talk about the FORS DVS vehicles equipment requirements and best practices. This is a bit of a catch-up one. I've actually done this already for some of the FORS associates last week, but I thought I'd do it again for us installer guys, and we'll see how we get on. Let's get started. So first of all, is to let you know about all of the FORS operators. If you're unsure what FORS is, it's the Fleet Operator Recognition Scheme. And the Fleet Operator Recognition Scheme is a voluntary scheme, and it's all about sort of making vehicles, heavy goods vehicles, safer. There's a lot of training involved with the drivers. There's a lot of awareness done about sort of what we call vulnerable road users. So that's your cyclists and what have you. We'll go through those in a moment, what a vulnerable road user is. But you can see the amount of operators and vehicles out there. There's somewhere in the total of around about 1,392 operators. And then you've got 35,383 vehicles that have to follow this FORS scheme under the Silver and Gold Award. So that means that this type of kit that we're going to talk about is actually out there, you know, and it has to be fitted to the vehicles. So we'll go through the bits and bobs that we need as part of Silver and Gold membership. This is the FORS Vehicle Equipment Safety Guide. This does help. This, if you wanted to find out a little bit more, this guide is available from. It's available on download from the FORS website as well. But if you need a copy, drop me a text and I can sort you a copy out. And then we move on to DVS. Well, DVS has been launched by the Mayor of London now. It's actually live now, and it's for HGVs. And basically, it's an offence now for any vehicle over 12 tonnes to enter London without a permit. The legislation is based on a star rating, and each vehicle is given a star rating. And the indication is basically how much the driver can naturally see from the cab directly. Any vehicle which enters London now must be registered with Transport for London, with TfL, and you're given the classification when you register. And anything that's categorised as a star rating, a 0-star rating, now must be fitted with safe system equipment. So to give you an idea about the type of, there's the area that it covers. So it's inside the M25, so it's not actually on the M25. So it's actually inside the M25 in what they call, I believe, the London-wide area. And to give you an idea about the vehicle classes, you can see there's a low-ended cab there, and then we've got a high cab there, and basically the lower cab is a class 4, and the quite high cab there you can see is a class 0. So the class 0 one, that vehicle there, would need a safe system fitted. So we look at the FORS requirements and DVS safety systems. So we'll quickly go over the bronze, and then we can go over the silver afterwards. So bronze is pretty much standard kit on coach-built vehicles, and normally they're fitted by the manufacturer as well. So we're talking about class 5. You can see on that slide there, the class 5 and class 6 close proximity mirrors, and then also under the bronze, you've also got a side underbar, so that's your side underrun protection, and then you've also got the blind spot warning signage there, just at the rear. Okay, so that's your bronze, and then for silver, you have to have side sensors fitted, so that's your close proximity sensors and a blind spot camera, and then also you need the audible warning system when the vehicle's turning less, and then if it's a rigid, you then need to have the alert. If it's a rigid vehicle, you need to have a rear view camera for when it's reversing, and also an audible warning system for when the vehicle's reversing as well. So we want to know what the VRU is, because I talk about VRUs quite a lot in this slide, in this presentation, and that includes pedestrians, motorbikes, cyclists, and horse riders, those horseists types. So in terms of signage, we'll go right back to the bronze and talk about signage. The signage that you're allowed to put on there, it's a requirement that you have to put warning only, and then it has to go on the rear of the vehicle. You're not allowed to put instructional signs on the back saying stay back, for instance, like you can see there, or anything that's offensive. Those are not acceptable. And then the option is to have one fitted to the side of the vehicle. So you can have one fitted to the side door or along the side of the vehicle. You can have one fitted to the rear of a tractor unit, or you can have, as an option, you could have LED warning lights as well. In terms of side protection, the requirement is side underrun bars. However, what you could do as an option is to cover the side underrun bar with a panel. And in terms of signage, yes, you can put signage on the side of these underrun bars as well as an option. So Class 5 and Class 6 mirrors, as we already know, most of them are installed by the vehicle manufacturer or the vehicle bodybuilder, and your Class 5 is the mirror, which, let's see if I can point it out for you. It's this mirror here, which is, I don't know whether you can see it or not, but it's the one that's at the top of the passenger door, pointing downwards. That's a Class 5, and a Class 6 mirror is the one that points from the front of the windscreen and shows the front blind spot on the vehicle. So we move on to audible warnings. That it's a requirement. So when we talk about this, when I talk about requirement and recommended, the recommended is not actually, it's not actually needed. It's only recommended, right? The parts that are requirements are basically what they say. So they have to be fitted. Recommended is an option, or they'd like it, shall we say. So requirement is near side of the vehicle, activate on the left indicator. Recommended is a voice message to tell you that the vehicle is turning left. And also it's recommended that a cut-off switch be fitted so that the driver can switch it off between 11:30 and 7 AM at night. So it's 11:30 at night and 7 AM in the morning. For FORS only, the requirement is on the rear of the vehicle and it activates on the reverse. So the audible warning is only on the rear of the vehicle. It activates on reverse. It's recommended that it's a buzzer, bleeper, or voice message. And this cuts off, again, a cut-off switch, or you could use the same switch to cut it off between 11:30 at night and 7 AM in the morning. And we move on to blind spot vision. So this is like the camera. So your camera has to be fitted on the near side. It's a requirement that it needs to be a 7-inch display, and the display has to be switchable as well. So obviously it'd be better if it switched to reverse, and then also switched to, if it was a rigid, and then also switched to the left-hand indicator as well. And there's another example of where a display could be fitted as well. So in terms of blind spot vision with a camera, so it's a requirement on the rear if it's a rigid. So this is for FORS only. This is not for DVS. It's a switchable display, and then the recommendation is that it covers all the other areas of the vehicle. So that is what's left, which is the offside and the front view. And that also it has the recording system fitted, and that's for training and development. However, there is a little marker here for HS2, and that is that HS2 it's a requirement on any vehicle that goes onto their site that a 4-camera system be fitted and a DVR system fitted also. So we move on to these blind spot vision sensors, and I know that this is a bone of contention, and it has been all the way along. So the requirement is that there needs to be side sensors fitted to the vehicle. Now, this is only recommended that it goes 6 meters along or 1 meter from the rear, whichever is smaller. And then an optional item is for FORS on FORS is that rear sensors are fitted on the trailers and the rigids. Side sensors are not required on any trailers fitted to rigids, or trailers like the one where you are a tractor unit and trailer. There's no side sensors required for those. But when we talk about tractor units, again, another area of contention here, another area of contention, I believe. Side sensors must be fitted, but it's recommended to avoid 1 meter from the 1 meter from the rear of the vehicle to avoid the articulation area. So basically, anywhere below the trailer, because obviously, when the vehicle goes off to the left, or rather to the left, you end up setting off the sensors, and so we end up with a situation where you have false alarms on the vehicle. So the sensors are there to pick up the vulnerable road user. So there is a little sort of marker here that I have been pointed out to, which is height. Make sure you've got the right height on the sensors. So, as I say, try to avoid, even with those long-reaching trailers, you need to avoid, 1 meter from the rear of the vehicle to avoid this articulation area, because as the vehicle turns left, you end up with false alarms on the device. So, that's it, written it there again. Oh well. So, common issues. So these have been picked up as issues that we've been made aware of out there in the field, and this is going to be a massive issue moving forward, because it's only going to start to create problems, as and when, I think this will probably start in the winter when we get salt. When the grit goes on the roads and they start to get, the roads start to get wet, and you end up with a lot of salt, and salt is really causes lots of corrosion, as we're probably already aware. But this is going to be a massive thing. Camera corrosion, definitely. And it's a very simple fix. It's so simple. You would not believe how easy it is to fix, and it's a prevent rather than a fix. I would say it's more than not a fix. It's more of a preventative sort of thing that you can do, and that is basically to apply some electrical compound. I know we've got DC4 in the picture, but other manufacturers make this stuff. Basically, other manufacturers are available. I think the correct wording is. But that's what you need. You need to apply some electrical compound or some silicon, non-sealing silicon compound, and then basically seal it with either adhesive line heat shrink or the and I'm trying to get it out of my amalgamating tape. There we go, amalgamating tape. Sorry about that. So it's either adhesive line heat shrink or amalgamating tape. Another issue that we've already come across before is displays, and really this does, gripe me a bit. We see a lovely, nice, clear display on the dashboard, and you can see what you can see is what that poor driver's seeing now, which is something like a picture of his head, picture of him, a picture of the front view, a picture of the side view, and a picture of the rear view. Well, this is totally unacceptable. It shouldn't be seen on any display whatsoever. However, there are things that we can do. you know, what should be seen is something like this, where you have like a split view. So you have the rear view and a side view camera view sort of thing, rather than, you know, rather than seeing that while they're driving along the road. I think it's really distracting. Or even have it so it's switch view. You know, I mean, these are the sorts of things that we're talking about in terms of recommendations. So you have a switch view, which basically shows turning left, or when it's reversing, and then do a split view blind spot while the vehicle's driving down the road. And then I know what a lot of people will say is, well, how is the driver going to check to see if all the cameras are working? Well, that's fine. So all you do, or all the system needs to do, is to switch on for the first minute, and then for the first minute, it basically shows all the cameras for a minute or so that the driver can get in, have a look at the screen, check to see if it's okay, and then carry on, and it goes back to either a split view, or this is the other thing, the screen just goes off and it doesn't come back on then until the indicator switched on or the reverse is switched on. So these are sort of the best practices, I would say. Other issues that we've seen out and about is basically where the camera mounting is not covering the blind spot. I've tried to illustrate there. That's come from I think it's regulation 46 of the UNECE, and it basically covers what a class 5 mirror should see. And if you look back into the DVS regulations, it actually says that, you know, that's what we should be covering, is the class 5 mirror. Now, the class 5 mirror would then show the bottom step. So that's where we need to be aiming for, and, you know, in terms of where we should be. And that's definitely somewhere, you know, something I think that needs to be addressed, is that we make it very clear now that it should be showing that lower step. So the driver's really got a good view of his blind spot. Otherwise, he's just got a view of the rear view mirror. So I've looked at this and I've given some sort of, you know, some best practices. Optimum height about 1.5 meters. That gives you the best view. I know that we're talking about this, but I've got a camera in front of me. I'm looking at the camera. You've all got cameras on your phones and stuff, and it's best way to explain it is perspective. Look it up. It means, you know, the view, your perspective, and I think that's really important when you actually decide, or when a user, or when you're sort of talking this round with the driver or the transport operator about their about the perspective, or about what they're going to see, you know, as part of the view. You know, things that do crop up is like if you put it near near an indicator lamp, for example, and you put it near the indicator lamp, and then when the guy's turning left or turning right, you get this massive flash, and it completely wipes out the camera for that momentary second. It might be the momentary second that you need to see something. So yeah, there's lots of things to think about, not just about where, you know, and I know that this is done with where the driver wants it and stuff, but at the end of the day, this is a safety system. So the thing that you should put first is safety before image or appearance. You know, so some things that you could do: use a mock-up system, get a camera with a display connected to it, and, you know, have a big long cable off it, run it off the cigar lighter, and then you could carry it around and give them an idea about where you're going to put the screen and where you're going to put the camera, so that they've got some perspective. You could even use your mobile phone camera to give an idea of the image that they're going to see. But the main thing is that it should be covering you should cover the front step of the vehicle. So that's the front passenger step, and really it is all about covering that class 5 mirror, because that's what you're, you know, looking to cover. Some other best practices for equipment. Well, you know, it's a standard thing now. It should be CE or E marked to ensure safety and quality of the product. Just a reminder, folks, that there is a new standard coming in called UKCA. That's from January 2022, and that's basically going to replace CE in the UK. All cables external of the cab should be in conduit. Cables should be secured to OEM standard, so use the existing OEM clips if there are any. But if there isn't, cable tie it. If you can't cable tie, P-clip. But make sure these cables are secure. Far too many I've seen where they're not secured, and they're, especially like side sensors, where I've actually seen them hanging down, in a sort of, they look like, a clothesline sort of thing, hanging down below the the underrun bars on the side of the vehicle. Make sure all your external devices are IP rated. I think it needs to be, personally, I recommend the minimum standard is IP67, but the recommended standard is definitely IP69K. All devices secured with machine screws, bolts and nylocks, so that way then they're not going to come off. Use stainless steel if it's outside as well. Give it that extra bit of protection. And then, and this is a suggested warranty, just to coincide with the vehicle's service life maybe, or the next DVS progressive system, which comes out in 2024. I think that the install should be at the same sort of level as what the kit is, which is something like a 3-year warranty. And then, like I say, these we talked about it before, the old camera corrosion. Make sure that the water resistant connections, make sure that the installer must make them water resistant now. I don't think that, even though I know a lot of the kits out there have been showing to say that they are water resistant, or that they've got, it's okay because they've got a rubber seal around them. I think we've established now that there is, an issue with some of them. I'm not saying all of them, and then there is definitely an issue with some of them. We need to make sure that as installers that we make them water resistant. So follow the guidance that I've given earlier. That is some electrical compound inside the connector, and some amalgamating tape or adhesive line heat shrink. Sorry, I remembered it again. And finally, use in terms of connectivity. We've been here now. We should all be doing this. Is use the vehicle's bodybuilder or FMS connections to do the connections. I know that you can't do it all the time. I know that some of the vehicles aren't live, but check first of all to make sure that the connectors might be live, and it makes it so much easier to do it. There we go. We can see them now. So you can see there's the standard FMS connector here. I won't get it into view. So that's your standard FMS connector. But like your bodybuilder connections here, that's these are pre-made. So that is a bodybuilder's connection. And then we'll look at this one. This one here is another one. So, oops, there we go. Get it into view. So there you go. That's some of their best practices. And I've gone off the camera. Let's see if I can add myself back in again. Have I done it? Yes. There we go. I'm getting clever at this stuff now. So that's it, really, folks. For tonight, let's go through some questions and answers then, shall we? So let's have a look at see what we've got on our question and answer system. Oh, here's an interesting one. Can you confirm if the reverse bits are standard for DVS? The reverse parts are not standard for DVS. It's only for FORS as it stands. So yeah, it's only for FORS, I'm afraid. Not for the sorry, it's only for FORS. It's not for DVS. Get it out, Jace. Any other questions? Danny's on. Hello, Danny. Mr. Oughton's on as well. Welcome, Mr. Oughton. Yeah, I can see, George. I'm still sharing my PowerPoint. I'm not sure what's happened there. I think I think the screen's frozen on LinkedIn, unfortunately. So sorry about that, folks. Any other questions, anyone, while we're on it? No, that's good. It was great to have your first board on. Thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget, we've got another one next week. I know it's a rerun of what we've done before previously, but we've got some interesting news. We're doing soldering. Oh, we've just had a question come in. Anything on sensor displays? Oh, interesting, Matt. There's nothing in the guide about sensors on sensor displays, Matt. Most people I've seen put them on the near side of the A-pillar. Am I right in thinking that, chaps? There's not many people actually put them on the dashboard. So it tends to be they tend to put them on the A-pillar next to the siren. Pete, if you've got a question, quickly chuck it on. Because it's there's a hell of a delay whenever the yes, it is still the same. My mobile number's still the same, Paul. You can still catch me on Facebook as well. I believe you're looking after me. You're still friends with me on Facebook. Yes, a pillar above the grab handle. There's an answer actually from Gary. There we go. Pillar above the grab handle. There we go, Gary. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that. But generally, it does just go on the A-pillar. So we have another agreement of Stuart. Yep. Thanks, Stu. Pete, have you got that question? Quick. So I can have that add you to the... come on, I'm waiting. Quickly type it. Because I'm going to have to go. If not, mate, Pete, leave a quote. Drop me a message. Good one, Pete. Oh, I love it. Absolutely fantastic. The clearance for side scan articulated vehicles with a trailer. Does the area need to be clear if more than 1 metre? Yeah, I actually showed you a slide. Let's go back to that slide because that was the reason why I showed that view, because there's no way you can see on this one. I'll just drop your question off. You can see on this one is that it's quite, and there's lots of those trucks out there where they have like a really, I don't know what you call it, where the fifth wheel is set so far back and the peg is set so far back as well that the cab actually almost meets the back of the trailer. Now, in this sort of circumstance, I'd say it's just a pointless exercise trying to put any sensors there. And that's why they recommend, it's only a recommendation that you put sensors all the way to the back of the vehicle anyway. The main area that we need to concern ourselves about, and we need to make sure that it's done right, and that's the key thing, is that anywhere at the front, anywhere in the cab area. So anywhere between the front of the cab and the rear of the cab is really an area where we need to concentrate on. And anywhere, like if it's a day cab, like a small cab, then, just a little bit further back. Because at the end of the day, we don't want false alarms. We don't want the drivers getting all annoyed. It's there to, at the end of the day, it's there to assist the driver, not to wind him up. And personally, I think that, and I say it's only a personal view. And also, bear in mind, chaps, that it is only a recommendation that it goes so far down the cab. All we need to do is fit side sensors. But I will stress this: fit side sensors properly. That's the key thing. Right height, pick up, check that it is actually picking up pedestrians, cyclists, bikes, and horse riders. Okay. Right. Well, that was a flurry of questions right at the end. Thanks ever so much for doing this, and thanks for joining. Next week we're going to talk about soldering. I've got some interesting things to tell you about soldering, because I know a lot of you use these electric soldering irons, and I'm hoping to have a bit of a coup next week about these electric soldering irons. So yeah, I know they blow up, but there is another thing that does cause an issue with the electric soldering irons. So I'll bid you a non. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to follow us, like us. Thanks, guys. Bye.